Hello, and welcome to the Farmhouse. I'm Candace Worsbowski.
And I'm Stephanie Spiker.
And we're back after a little break. Stephanie, thank you, and thank you to Eric Herlock for holding down the fort in my absence. I loved the 70th anniversary special episode that you guys did. It was wonderful hearing from all those farmers and their takes on why they farm.
Well, thank you. That was definitely a fun one to create and listen to as well. So
yeah,
I hope everyone else enjoyed it too. A little something different for you.
Yeah, and if you haven't listened to it yet, I implore you to go back and listen because it's a departure from what we usually do here at the Farmhouse, but it's still a really special episode. And now we're going to go back to our usual programming. I spoke recently to Casey Wisch, who owns Longstone Farm in Lovettsville, Virginia, with her husband, Justin. They raise pasture-based beef, pork, poultry, and eggs with a focus on sustainability, and they have 2 farm stands. Longstone Farm was recently awarded a Grand Basin Clean Water Farm Award, which is an award given to Virginia farmers who have implemented conservation practices on their farms to protect water quality. It's a really big deal, and I know Casey is very proud of it. And if that doesn't sound like enough work, Casey and her husband are also raising 4 little ones, so you can imagine that Casey is a very busy woman. In fact, as we spoke, she was calling me from her truck because she, like many women in ag, is a woman on the go, and I'm just happy she took some time out of her schedule to talk to us. So let's hear from Casey. Casey, welcome to the Farmhouse.
Thank you so much for having me.
So could you walk us through the origin story of Longstone Farm? How and why did you and your husband, Justin, decide to start it?
Yeah, sure. We both grew up here in Loudoun County. We're in Loudoun County, Virginia. My husband grew up farming, and I did not. We both went off to college and came back to Loudoun knowing that we wanted to farm. But through the course of life and spending like the last 10 years kind of going from this rural area out to college, we both attended Virginia Tech, and then coming back home. Those 2 journeys take you in different directions. And I actually ran into farming in college and then went off to travel overseas in Australia and New Zealand. And kind of that journey for myself was really where I saw in college more like commodity production happening on like big tobacco farms. So I was a little bit more monoculture and ag chemical driven. And my husband grew up out here doing more like cattle grazing, hog production, some haymaking, helping on different farms. And so our kind of 2 experiences together landed us back at Longstone Farm. When I was in Australia and New Zealand, I got exposed to permaculture, a lot of grazing out there, a lot of sheep operations, dairy operations. And when you're in your early 20s without kids, you have a lot of time to read and explore ideas and things that were kind of coming together for me, where I saw the farming community. I always loved agriculture. I just did never see myself in it. But when I kind of came on the other side of this little journey and Justin and I reconnected kind of around this trip, ironically, we both settled in just feeling like we wanted to start this grazing operation, and we wanted to produce good, clean meat for our community, and we wanted to pursue a better path forward for our own farm. And so it's kind of those values and ideas that drove us to start Longstone Farm.
Great. So what does sustainably farmed mean to you in practical kind of day-to-day terms at Longstone Farm?
Being out here every day, seeing what we do and seeing results on your own land, it really drives sustainability for us. The different farming practices that we've chosen to deploy out here have had a very positive impact here just within our own like kind of immediate ecosystem, if you will. We see it in soil health. We see it in the wildlife habitat that we provide. We see it in insects on our farm. You can see it really from like the ground to the sky. And so when we talk about sustainability, I mean, you're going to see a lot of different stuff come within farming practices itself of how you could do it. But I mean, being immersed out here every day on the farm, knowing that we are creating this just massive amount of diversity on our farm is really when we talk about sustainability, kind of boots on the ground work. Like, this is what we do. We understand why we do it. And now that we have 4 kids on the farm with us and we see them inside this world too, it's just really I mean, there's no other way to do it for us, but there are a lot of stuff packed into that. But kind of more immediately, it's really what's happening on our own farm and our own land.
Great. So you guys recently received a Grand Basin Clean Water Farm Award in 2023. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Can you tell us about that award and what it means to you to have received it?
Yeah, this is like a lifetime achievement award for me. I mean, this is top of it. I was so proud to have been the recipient of this award. We have been working with Soil and Water, our local Soil and Water chapter, for the last 10 years on a variety of projects. And so we've developed a really good relationship with them, and they're the ones that nominated us for this award. We got to help them fill out the application for the Grand Basin Award, and there's a couple farmers that I know that have received it in the past, people that we've always admired. But to actually sit there and go through the process and see other applications that came in and other applicants that could have been awarded this and know that we were selected for our work was just so meaningful. And then to go to the award ceremony and get to receive it there amongst a lot of other wonderful producers. I mean, I was just so proud to stand up there and get that award.
Can you tell us a little more about like the work on the farm that brought you to that space?
That's that every day to day. That's the stuff where you kind of get in the weeds of it all, where you're out there sweating or freezing and just to get the day done. But it's some of those farming practices that we've deployed out here that what we've always sort of referred to it as these grazing systems, right? We look at each of our enterprises a little bit different and we manage them to the particular species, and we do a lot with multi-species grazing, trying to utilize the land from a financial productivity standpoint, but also from a production maximization standpoint. And so we have done various projects with soil health. I mean, that means a little bit different to every farm. But for us out here, it's making sure that we're not overgrazing, that we're rotating properly. We've been experimenting with a variety of forages that we feed both our cattle and our hogs. It's utilizing those chickens to prep some of that soil fertility for us. We send those chickens, we'll send the cows in, we send the chickens in, we send the cows back in. There's a lot of kind of puzzle piecing to where and how and when we're running animals in certain places. But at the end of the day, it's that day to day management. And kind of going back to the sustainability factor, it's like, how are we able to make this ecosystem fully functional? But that ties back to the Soil and Water Award because we all kind of, all this water drains down into the Chesapeake Bay. And we took a really cool trip to the Chesapeake Bay Foundation Research Center. We went to visit Tangier Island, and that was with the Chesapeake Bay Research Foundation. And they focus a lot on the invitation was to farms that graze, that feed into the Chesapeake Bay. But at that particular trip, they did kind of this map of Virginia. They showed the different watersheds, and we got a really even much more clear understanding of exactly where our runoff goes, and kind of just what that day-to-day work really means in terms of watershed health. And it's really amazing to know that those day-to-day decisions is really impacting like our overall region. So it
Yeah.
was a really cool award to get, and it's one that I feel like I wish I could talk about it a little bit more with customers because they see it. I don't know how many people really understand what the award means, but
Hmm.
it's definitely resonated with us and our family, and we have a really cool plaque in our house
Yeah.
that we get to look at. But
I mean, congratulations. That is such an important award. Making sure the Chesapeake Bay is healthy and continues to get healthier is such an important issue. And I feel like a lot of people out there, especially on the customer consumer end, don't realize how much work I think farmers are putting into making sure that they're doing what they can to be part of that process. I don't
right,
think the responsibility is not 100% on farmers, but I feel like
no,
most farmers we talk to like are happy to do their part.
right, right. I mean, it's the beauty of farming. It's very complicated. It's very, very
Hmm.
complicated. There's a lot of parts and pieces to it all that ties back to policy and ties back to farming traditions and land use decisions at county levels. I mean, there's so much happening there, but it's just we as a family carry this full risk on. This is our land, it's our way to management, and this is our decisions out here. We're the ones that will make or break it. But you kind of shoulder that weight, and to know that your decisions are really impactful to the whole region, that's a cool feeling.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you wish you could tell your customers about this. So let's talk a little about customers and economics. What do you do to educate your customers or prospective customers about why pasture raised sustainable meat, it may cost a little more, but it's worth the extra investment, more so than like, say, going to the grocery store and just kind of getting whatever's in the meat aisle. How do you have those conversations?
Um, right, marketing,
Yeah.
marketing conversations. I mean, that's hard. We have really worked hard to try to reach folks in a variety of ways. I mean, the number one way is our social media platform. So that's Facebook and Instagram for us. That's where we share kind of day-to-day pictures. We talk about our farm management, and we talk about products. We get into a little bit of policy there where we can, but that's the primary way. We do a lot of events where we have people out to the farm. For example, Loudoun County Farm Tours coming up. So those are really great ways that we're supported locally, that we get to have people come out and talk to them face to face in person. We're always there. We're present. We've done other local events like that. Some of them, we don't necessarily make any money on, but it's just good marketing. But we also started an initiative where we did our farm dinner series. This is a unique situation where we get time with our customers to come out to the farm. We get to show and tell them exactly what we do. It's an adult only evening, and that is 45 minutes to an hour where I have a wagon full of 40 or 60 people on the farm. They're relaxed, there's no distractions, and they just listen to us tell them what we're doing out here. And that is a very important way that we have also marketed ourselves. That's a high engagement activity for us, but we try to get really creative with really social media and in-person events to try to communicate exactly what we're doing out here.
I feel like it's so interesting to think about how for so many farmers, it's, just one more hat you have to wear. It's not enough to farm. You
Yeah,
also have to be a marketer, you
I
know?
know. Gosh, I know. And I said, I really need somebody to help me with my grammar. That's what I mean. I kind of like write where I'm thinking, and I'm not a professional writer whatsoever, but I do my best. But I think it kind of helps resonate. You get a little personality in there to kind
Yeah.
of tell people like what we're doing, who we are. And I did a little bit of marketing in school, so that was really helpful with just being able to use like Word to make PDFs and help communicate what we're trying to offer. So that's all been really helpful. And then we have to figure out how to use all these e-commerce platforms, but
Right.
we've been figuring it out, I guess.
Okay. Well, let's talk about some of the livestock that you have on your farm. We hear all sorts of stories from farmers about how they got interested in different breeds. It seems like sometimes they just call to them. So how did you decide what kind of livestock species or breeds that you wanted to raise in your pasture-based model?
Yeah, that's a great question. I guess I'd start with our hogs because they're like our bread and butter out here. We really exclusively raise Berkshires now. When we started off the first few years, like our first year of production, we did 13 pigs 10 years ago. Then we kind of jumped up to like 35, and then we jumped up to 50 the third year. So we kind of been increasing hogs, but during that process, we did some breed experimentations. So we raised a variety of different, like more heritage-based breeds, Tamworths, Old Spots, Ossabaws. We did some crosses, Duroc crosses, but the one that shown to us was the Berkshire hog. Those hogs, they have great temperaments. They're very hardy out here. But for something that's very important to us, because we do wholesale a lot of meat, is that carcass quality.
Hmm.
And the Berkshires just have this wonderful fat to meat ratio. When we take them to a little bit of a heavier hanging weight, they just really get this nice red color to them. So for us, the Berkshires hit on the field side of it, but also the carcass quality side of it. We do a lot of pork shares, so yield's very important to us. And we kind of just feel like we get the best of all worlds with the Berkshire breed. For cattle, we really settled on Red Angus. That was about 6 years ago that we really made this commitment to that breed. We had visited a few farms. Visiting other farms was just such a great way to get some experience and talking to other people. But for us, the Red Angus Association has been a wonderful association to be a part of. They're really progressive with the way that they're advancing the breed, and we work with them a lot with our registered herd, which is kind of the path that we went down. We've been building our registered Red Angus female herd, but that breed for us was also, we were looking for this very consistent carcass. I mean, we direct market all of our meat, so the meat quality for us is very, very important. And so what we were trying to accomplish that the Red Angus breed delivered to us was this kind of more medium-sized carcass that would cut down our finishing time but improve our grass-based production. And so we really have been able to cut down without changing much in our system, like 4 or 5 months just by changing breed. And that's huge. I mean, that's
Yeah.
huge. So we're full pursuit Red Angus right now. And we've started to sell a little bit of the genetic side to kind of buffer up on the female cost side, which with the market being right now isn't as important, but that'll change again. And then for chickens, for poultry, we did the very first batch, like 2018, 2019, we ran some of the Red Freedom Rangers and they were fine. But I mean, when you go and you talk to anybody, in my opinion, it's the Cornish cross chickens. I mean, those chickens just get big, and everybody's system's a little bit different, but for us, it's really important financially that we can get those birds to like a bigger, heavier weight. So going back to kind of just carcass, quality and development, we really feel like the Cornish cross fits our program the best for our poultry.
All right, great. I mean, it's a lot of decisions when you have so
Oh,
many
it's
different
so
kinds of
many, right?
livestock, you know?
Yeah. It's so important though.
Hmm. So you've mentioned your little ones. You and Justin, you're farming alongside raising 4 kids. How do you integrate your children into farm life?
Yeah. Well, it's really easy when they're babies in a
Hmm.
way, and it's really easy up until they turn 3, and then they turn 3 and they're like, "Wow, it's hot outside. It's hot. Like, what is that?" And they start to get a little bit more picky, and it happened to all 4 of them.
Hmm.
It just they kinda hit 3 and then they kinda are a little bit, you have to encourage them a little bit more to stay outside, but it's been a little bit how we, manage the farm and the help that we brought in, but they're on the farm with us. They nap on our Can-Am, our range. We have 2 units. I mean, those kids are outside all the time. As they've gotten a little bit older, we tried to be more encouraging of like where we see their little passions popping up. So we're not forcing them where they become resentful, but where they feel like they're finding success
Hmm.
out on the farm. And I think that's kind of interesting for us as first generation, really farmers. I mean, we didn't inherit any of this. We're kind of setting forth our own path, but it's like having kids on the farm is so wonderful. I love it, but it's a little bit new for me trying to figure out where I push and where I don't push. And so we are careful with the safety side of it, like the grain bins. Those
Hmm.
kids really like to climb those ladders.
I'm sure.
Right. Yeah. So, and all of our cattle work, I mean, to have that Can-Am Ranger out there, they're safe on those units, which is really nice for us. But like the poultry side of it, that's great for the kids. And so that's been part of our poultry program is that's something that they can help us move our chicken coops. And they, most of the time they like it. At least once they get out there, they're fine to move the chicken coops. But they've been starting to help us like work cattle a little bit, and we'll have to get a babysitter for some activities. But for the most part, everything we do out here, they can do with us.
That's wonderful.
Um, yeah. And without the ag chemicals too, I mean, I just love knowing that our kids can run anywhere on the farm in any field, and they're safe from touching any kind of unsafe product. So
Right. Well, it sounds like you were maybe hinting at this, but as your children grow, do you envision them taking more prominent roles in the farm's future, or are you hoping that they'll take over the farm one day in the future?
yeah, I think any parent loves that. I mean, you give everything for this farm, and they are definitely finding areas that they really enjoy, and you can see it. And I mean, that's amazing. We have a nice school, a great school that they attend right now that is very encouraging of us to come into the school and kind of bring our farm and share, which is great. So for them, they're kind of these like little farm stars in their community. Their friends wear our farm T-shirts, and that's really cool. And I
Oh.
think that, yeah, and I think that when they're older, that's the kind of stuff for them that'll be like, wow, maybe I'll raise my kids on the farm. There'll be the financial side of it, right? But at the end of the day, I think if they have the passion to pursue farming when they're older, I think that's where they'll come back in and want to come
Hmm.
back to the farm. And so that's kind of my own personal mission is to like get them just to see the beauty in it all and keep it fun. I
Yeah.
mean, keep it fun.
Yeah. And you know what? They're very lucky kids because, we talk to young people who are interested in getting into farming, and one of the biggest challenges is land, right? But
Yeah.
if there's a family farm, then you're kind of set. It's really a wonderful thing to have within the family.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and they see it too. Like we have the power lines that are coming through our farm. So they hear us talk about our land and how important it is and
Hmm.
how there's only so much of it and that there's people that want our land that we have worked so hard to buy and find leases on. And so like they're already exposed to this like mentality of land is important, it is
Hmm.
vital, and like we cannot be here without it. And we talk a lot about the way we farm and when we have these farm tours out here. I love to have the groups out here where our kids can step in and give some of that tour.
Hmm.
They're getting there. And just to hear them talk, I'm like, you are listening, you hear what we're saying, you know this. And that is like full connection for me. So,
Yeah. Awesome. Well, one last question for you. We always save the big one for last. What does it mean to you to be a woman in agriculture?
oh, I just think women in agriculture are the best. We are like the moms, right?
Hmm.
We are the wives. We bring this like just element of care and attention to our farms that I think like is we are ingrained in this life cycle. And I think that is the best thing about being a female farmer is just my care and attention to our animals is where I think I strive as a female. I mean, just the little details to come in there and think that we're always spread out, our minds are always doing 100 things. And I think it works really well with the way that we run a farm because there's multitasking happening all the time. There's things that need little care and attention and details. And I think women are set up for this, like that we were made to do this. And I think that we can bring this level of personal care to a farm that maybe is harder for a man. So I think that being a female farmer is what I was made to do. I think it's just what I was made to do.
That's awesome to hear. Thank you so much, Casey, for speaking with me today.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
I feel like that was such a great interview to kind of come back to here at FarmHouse. I really enjoyed listening to it. And, there were a couple things that stood out to me. One of them was I really liked that she mentioned what works for her farm in terms of soil health and sustainability is not necessarily what's going to work on every farm. Because at the end of the day, they're very intentional with their grazing practices. And obviously that's doing really well for them. And Virginia is such a good state for like livestock grazing. So it works really well for them, but maybe it's not going to work for everyone. So I really just appreciated that she mentioned that. And I also loved that she said that for her, sustainability is from the ground to the sky. Like what an interesting way to think about it.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's not something that you hear too often being that way.
Very holistic. But I think the thing, honestly, that stood out to me the most, which is something that I feel like has come up so many times, is how much time and effort farmers also have to put into marketing.
Yes.
I mean, she was talking about running all their social media, hosting farm tours, having kind of like a farm to table dinner vibe type of experience.
Mm-hmm.
And that is all so much time and effort in itself, which doesn't even like encompass all the time and effort in the actual farming realm. Like it's crazy to me how much farmers have to do outside of farming.
Yeah. And it made me like wonder, she mentioned that she studied a bit of marketing at school and how helpful that's been. And it made me think like, okay, how many ag programs do you think incorporate marketing into the program? Because I feel like they should, if they haven't already. I feel like it should be a requirement if you're studying ag that you should also have to look into a marketing. And it might not be just a straightforward like business course. Maybe it's like marketing for ag.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like it would be incredibly helpful for a lot of farmers.
Yeah. It's funny. This was, I feel like, at least a year or so ago. I saw this video on TikTok, of course, of all places. And it was this guy who, he had this whole series about like finding weird majors and then kind of like making fun of them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that like was served to me for obvious reasons was an agricultural communications major.
Oh, no.
And I'm like,
sir,
that's not a weird, which I majored in journalism, but I minored in ag communications. And I'm like, there's a lot of schools that have that program. And I feel like if you're outside of ag, it's kind of, maybe you can see like, that's weird. Like you're talking to cows, like, ha ha ha. But it's like, if you actually know anything about this industry, it is clear that even if you're working on a farm, having a background in communications is beneficial in some way. So yeah, it's crazy how much farmers need to know, which includes communications and marketing.
Yes. So take that, TikTok guy.
Yeah, whose name I don't know.
I think that wraps it up for us here. Thank you all for listening. If you like this episode, please consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And if you really like this episode, please consider leaving us a review.
If you have any questions or thoughts about the episode or the podcast, you can email us at farmhouse@lancasterfarming.com.
You can also find us on social media at Lancaster Farming on most platforms.
Thank you again for visiting us at the farmhouse. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Candace.
We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
This episode of The Farmhouse is copyright 2025 by Lancaster Farming Newspaper, part of the Steinman Communications family.
It was written by Stephanie Spiker and Candace Wierzbowski. It was produced by Eric Herlock. It was mixed by Justin Berger. Music by Tin Bird Shadow.